Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Unfiltered Tea, another show. We were right with John Oliver on vacation and Emily D. Baker traveling. It was a week. It was a week. Um but we're here. Looking forward to another week. Everybody is back next week, which is going to be super fun. So as usual, let me know where you're coming in from, what you're sipping on or snacking on this evening, because we have a huge show this evening. The first thing that we are going to cover is some housekeeping stuff before we dive into all the topics for this evening. So, hi, welcome. New things. I worked really hard this weekend, and you will note that in the description of this video, there is now a link to a website. It is an itty bitty little website, but it's there and it's up. And if you want, I'm still working out the details. Um, but if you want to be sure that you get notifications for this lovely for our Sunday gatherings and for anything else that I am doing, and if you want to be the first in the know for all things unfiltered tea, there is a little subscription form on there. It is all free. Only, you only need to click on the boxes that you want to subscribe to. It's just a little subscription box. You do not need to put your phone number in. That's if you want to be on the text crew. I am still getting text crew set up. But if you do want to be on the text crew and get the link to the show and everything texted directly to you, go ahead and fill that out. I'll get an email. I'll add you to the list, and you guys will be the first in the know. So that is, it's a huge deal for me, as I am a mostly one woman show doing all of this right now. And I hate tech things. So I feel very accomplished and doing that. There are some things that will be coming down the pike in the next few months. I'm thinking I think I am going to move a whole bunch of the earlier shows to somewhere else a bit later. So I'm going to make sure that if you want access to it, you can get access to it. Um, but yeah, that's coming, so stay tuned there. Um, let's see what else. Yeah, and there's always going to be, most of the content here is always going to be free. But I am working towards things like memberships and focusing on the Patreon page, because I also have one of those. Getting that up and running a little bit better. But for now, I always want to make sure that we can gather and we can all hang out and nobody feels like they have to, you know, chip in with anything. I am getting words that we had audio has been fussy tonight. So hopefully it was a minor glitch and we aren't going to worry about that too much. So for tonight, South Park dropped one hell of a season premiere after inking a $1.5 billion deal with Paramount Plus. So we are going to cover that. And then I found it. I found Trump's lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, like the actual document. I found it. So we're going to go over that. I gave it a cursory read through. This is your general disclaimer, as always, that I am not an attorney. So if you are an attorney, feel free to correct me when I get things wrong, because I have not been to law school, nor do I intend to go to law school. So just keep that in mind when we are talking all things law, because I am a law nerd, but I haven't put myself through any of that headache. So that is what we are going to do now. I'm going to go ahead and roll the intro. Um, I feel like I'm missing something, but I am sure that mom or dad, my amazing mods, downstairs. Dad is downstairs having cheesecake. Um, ugh, that would be good. I myself, I am sipping on a gin and tonic this evening because it is muggy and the mosquitoes are out, and that means it's tonic season. So that is where we are at. Welcome, welcome. You might need to remind me, guys, but I do have the tiny violin at the ready because I feel like we're going to need that when we get to Trump's lawsuit. I feel like we might need that several times, perhaps this evening. So let us see. All right. I need to take a breath and roll the intro, and then we can just dive into it. Hello and welcome to The Unfiltered Tea, a show where we say all the things you wish the newscasters said, unscripted and unfiltered. We talk about politics, pop culture, and courts, so pull up your soapbox, pour yourself a cuppa, and let's go. Let's go. And South Park delivered with politics, pop culture, and court right out of the gate. I do have some notes on this, but I'm probably just going to wing it. We're going to chat about it a little bit because I am not the South Park audience. I don't think I've watched South Park in 20 years. Um because it's not I understand what they've done. They do it very well. It's kind of like comedy. Some comedy is totally my thing. I will go through massive hoops to, say, go see Josh Johnson live or Kathleen Madigan. But what I'm not going to do is maybe do the same for Bill Maher. Bill Maher comes to my town. I'm probably going to take a weekend and go visit somebody in Vermont. Um, and that's just because art of all forms is not for everybody. But I did watch South Park way back in the day, and when the episode dropped and then the internet exploded, when the Venn diagram of people watching South Park and talking about stuff I'm interested in and all of that became a circle, like, people who have not watched South Park in 20 years watched this episode because first, Trey Parker and Matt Stone signed a 1.5 billion with a B dollar deal with Paramount Plus. They signed this on the heels of Paramount Plus canceling The Late Show. Now, is late night comedy changing, different? Is it the revenue maker it once was? No. But I still wanna see the numbers. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm a numbers girl, like, maybe it's just that I do, various forms of math for a living, but I wanna see the numbers. I want to see the accounting because I wanna see the breakdown and the accounting of this $40 million loss. And so how does that connect with South Park? Well, they canceled that. Okay, they're saving themselves some money, but then they signed this $1.5 billion deal with South Park. My bet, though I have not seen the contract and I don't think we ever will, is that even if they were to cancel South Park, for example, that the creators are still going to get their money. So it leaves Paramount Plus in an interesting predicament where they are trying to appease, I think pretty clearly, um, the government, the administration, the overgrown, overcaffeinated toddler that is masquerading as president these days. I should be kinder, but the man makes it hard to be kind. I can't do it at this point because his reaction to the cancellation of Late Show and then his reaction to being made fun of for an hour straight by cartoons. It was such an epic meltdown. I have seen 3-year-olds with better emotional regulation than this president seems to have. Um, and so they sign this deal. All of this is going on, and I I do this show wherein I turn on a camera, I get on the internet, and we chat for about an hour. And that to me is a lot of work. To do the kind of cartoon that they do, and I know it's not hand drawn, but you're writing scripts and you're recording things and you're coordinating tons of people's schedules to get the things into this episode that they got in was astounding. They If you have not seen it, go watch it. The Jesus News Sermon on the Mount was so epic. And again, South Park is not really my thing, but I keep interrupting myself. Sorry about that. I will get back there. Um, it was epic. It was so well done, and it was such a we have the First Amendment for a reason. You really wanna test this? You really wanna test the revenue we bring in against what we're gonna say? Well, come at me, bro, seemed to be um the South Park reaction to all of this. I don't know if the executives hadn't watched South Park. I don't know if South Park was just a number for them. I expect, given I'm gonna wager that a lot of the folks behind this decision do actually love the show South Park. And maybe they get it and maybe they don't, because South Park is subversive in a way that I don't know how many people actually understand. And maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my way of thinking on this, but South Park isn't my thing because I already get the message. Like, I'm already there, and some of the things where I know it's there to create the reaction don't get that reaction for me because I know why it's that all the things Cartman says, right? All of the words that Cartman uses. I think it was Heather Cox Richardson who pointed out that the far left, which is just a ridiculous term these days, but the far left doesn't typically watch South Park because they don't want to hear the R word or the F slur as often as they hear it. They don't want to hear Cartman and and complaining about being woke and all of that. It doesn't fully resonate. But the audience of the show is exactly the audience that we want to see what is happening. Like, we want them to get the message. I know a lot of folks who don't do politics. They are not the people who are gonna turn on C-SPAN. They're not the people who are gonna pay attention to the fact that, um, the Speaker of the House just shut down the house and sent everybody on summer vacation early so that he could avoid making the president mad at him for having a vote on the Epstein files. It's these the vast majority, I think, of the South Park audience isn't necessarily paying attention to those little nuances. So when you get an episode like this that just doesn't hold back, drops it all out there, calls it for what it is, blatantly right out front, and does it with the added bonus of basically goading the president into having a response, right? We know that Trump is going to react. If you speak negatively about him in any way, he's going to have a reaction. If you speak negatively about his appearance or certain parts of his anatomy, he's going to have a bigger reaction. Given that South Park has always resorted to scatological humor, it is in no way surprising to me that they went that they aimed below the belt, quite literally, with Trump. And the audience they're trying to reach is the audience that does not watch Colbert. They may not even watch John Oliver. They're not watching the news most of the time. And they're just trying to live their life and get through it. And they don't engage in politics. And so it's a big deal, and everybody keeps talking about it because of the audience, because of the people that it hit right out of the gate. And with the added bonus of people like me who haven't seen it for 20 years, when, all right, if the entire internet is discussing this, I guess I'll watch it. And where did I watch it? Streaming. Where do I watch all of these shows? Streaming. What does Paramount and legacy media seem to forget? Streaming. But that's where the views are. So that is the South Park thing. Mods, mom, dad, have I missed anything? Because my poor parents, they deal with all of the preamble to this show before we gather here on Sunday. And I would absolutely love to pull up clips from that South Park episode, but you know what? I don't really want to get copy claimed at all. And oh, they would copy claim me so fast. All right, dad coming in with young men who are moving right could be an audience worth waking up via South Park, especially those behind South Park have a reason to go after the hypocrisy, Trump, and lots of MAGA. Yes, it is the dude bros. Thank you, Dad. The very audience that South Park took aim at is all of the guys who claim to not agree with all of that red pill content, right? But they think they have some good points. That is exactly who the South Park audience aimed at. Um, and as much as I don't like hearing some of the words that they use, I also am from Maine, and some of them have not lost their some of them are still said quite often in Maine and Massachusetts. So they don't have the same impact as they have for others. I don't love it, but it's there for a reason, and I am such a free speech proponent that I don't think it would have the same impact without those words. Um, Mom says, I think it's smart for them to try and wake up their audience. That's how bad things are. We have reached a point where we need to basically, we need to take that huge group. And as much as I hate that, I firmly believe Hogue is right. Reasonable minds can differ, right? We can all come to different conclusions. But that said, we are at a major historical moment here. And you're either going to be on the right side of history or the wrong side of history. And there's not really middle ground there. That middle ground is going to get sorted out in the courts once we get through the insanity that we are in right now. The other thing that this reminds me of, this is a good reminder because comedy and speaking truth to power, but mostly comedy, making fun of authoritarians, making fun of the fascist insanity that they are trying to push through all over the place right now, making fun of it, laughing at it does more than any weapon, any fighting, any of that. Keeping hopeful, being able to laugh through it. Yeah, we can get really bogged down in a bunch of stuff, bunch of fear and fear mongering and all of that. I mean, the news is just the news is consistently trying to get us riled up, right? But the great thing that South Park does is it allows us to laugh at it. It allows us to see the absurdity, right? Because when you're buried in all the news headlines and uh, news anchors yelling at you terrifying things all of the time, it can get overwhelming and terrifying. But, when you are instead faced with an AI version of Trump's dick with googly eyes on it, fun fact, so that they didn't have to censor that part, which still makes me just they got around the censors by putting googly eyes on Trump's AI generated tiny dick and made it a character, which in the middle of the Epstein stuff is just 10 out of 10 no notes. Um, and it was hilarious. So, when you can laugh at it, when you can have those moments where that's one of the things that got Trump real bad also. They somehow in that same fake PSA managed to make fun of those super annoying Jesus commercials that they put out from time to time that tried I still don't understand like the whole thought process behind it. It's creepy and it's weird and I don't like them. But taking aim at those two things at the same time was kind of perfect. So, am I gonna go back to watching South Park? I don't know, probably not. But I think watching what happens from that, because Trump just became unhinged, right? He wouldn't have done that if somebody had slapped him in the face. I'm not encouraging that. Don't do that. Don't take a real world with people ever. But I think when we are faced with, we're trying to put people in concentration camps, laughing at how stupid fascism is and making them mad and calling them out on it that way, that helps. And that's the best way to do it. So, you know what? Go to Pettytown. Go full snark with these guys. Um and yeah, let's keep supporting our comics because they are doing a lot. Oh, before I move on though, of course, on my way up here tonight, I happen to see some Hollywood Reporter article talk about Jay Leno being mad that the late night hosts are lecturing everybody. Jay, my man, my dude, weren't you the one who made some of the worst jokes about women in general in the 90s? Now, I see the other news clips of how he's taking care of his wife, so I assume he's not just this much of a I can't find the right word. Um, but come on. Like, well, why are you only going for half the audience? Because they're funnier than you. And half of their audience was worth his whole audience. That's my own personal opinion. Some folks love Jay Leno. He was never my jam. I found a lot of what he had to say rude and highly disrespectful. And he was the king of, oh, it's just a joke. No, what you said was highly offensive. And if you can't hear that, you can say some real offensive shit and have it be funny. Jay never really had that talent as far as I'm concerned. And so I don't really care what you have to say, Jay. Go, be retired, take care of your family. We don't you nope. Um Dad coming in wow, I can speak. The degree to which Trump can be provoked by comedy into making rash statements and attacks should be viewed as dangerous to the nation's security. True, but it's also helpful for us because it doesn't take much to get Trump to then admit stuff in anger. He's already doing that. He's already coming out real fast with it in his yelling at people and being mad. He's also saying a lot of stuff out loud that he doesn't intend to say out loud. And I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but when our um, director of intelligence is quoting Russian propaganda, I feel like my trust in the upper echelon of this administration and how they handle intelligence is already off to a real rocky start. Um, but that's just my thoughts. Okay. I mean, also, the title of this was The Cartman Respect My Authority, which, let's be real, that is what Trump is saying every time he gets mad at one of these comics or comedy shows or any of that. So, before we move on, as always, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I should watch another one of these episodes of South Park. I'm sure I am missing some stuff. Should I look at my notes? Let me look at my notes before we move on. No, I think I covered it. I don't know. Am I going to watch South Park again? Probably. Probably. Because, they're really good at what they do. And I don't laugh at some stuff, but Cartman is, I mean, they're all kind of funny and ridiculous. And the points they're making are points that a whole lot of people aren't making. And I'm kind of tired of everybody trying to play nice when playing nice and gentle and being super caring of a whole bunch of people who, quite frankly, don't give two shits about anybody but themselves. Um, you know, Maybe it's time they take a little of their own medicine. It's not even that much. It's not even as bad as some of them have handed out. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. Let's ask Satan. Let's ask Satan on the next South Park. Satan seems to be having some feelings about where he's at in life with this president on South Park. So we'll see. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you watched the episode. Um, and let me know if there's other stuff that I am missing that you want me to cover. What I am going to do now is I'm going to swoop and then we are going to move on to the lawsuit. The lawsuit? The lawsuit. Yeah, I found the lawsuit. So we're going to take a look at that. That should be, well, if you're like me, that should be entertaining. Um, Swoop. Where's my swoop? There it is. I hit the swoop and I took a sip, and then the condensation went all over my desk. So I didn't pull up the document, but let's do that. Look at me go, guys. I'm sorry. I hate all things technical. My dream with this channel is when I get to a point where I can pay somebody to help me with this stuff. But I did it all by myself. I'm very proud of myself. So let us take a look at this. Let's see if I can even read it on the front end here. So we are going to take a look at this particular lawsuit. This is Trump versus the Wall Street Journal. So we have the first bit here is we're already off to a rocky start with President Donald J. Trump an individual. Because while lawyers, oh, yes, Dad says, remember when Colbert's character was a conservative? Oh, that's a whole other show. We could do a whole show just on that. So Donald J. Trump, an individual, versus Dow Jones, Wall Street Journal, a whole bunch of other folks. Okay. Plaintiff President Donald J. Trump, through his counsel, blah, blah, blah. Dow Jones is suing all of them and alleges as follows. Because we wanted the allegations, right? I wanted the allegations. I wanted to see what they had to say. Nature of the action. Quote, grounded in facts shaped by experience and defined by editorial standards that don't waver. Dow Jones and Company, the publisher of the Wall Street Journal newspaper, proudly proclaims this maxim across the banner of its website, holding itself out to the world as an honest and forthcoming broker of newsworthy material. And yet, defendants' malicious, deliberate, and despicable actions, I mean, points for the alliteration that give rise to this action show plainly that they do not practice what they preach. I mean, okay, that's a claim. On July 17th, 2025, defendants, I'm not going to try to say that name. I would need to hear it before I can say it. And the same with the other one, Joseph Palazzolo co-authored and published an article largely focused on President Trump that falsely claimed that he authored, drew, and signed a card to which the late and utterly disgraced Jeffrey Epstein a happy 50th birthday. To attempt and inextricably link President Trump to Epstein, defendants falsely claim that the salacious language of the letter is contained within a hand-drawn naked woman, which was created with heavy marker. Worse, defendants falsely represent as fact that Trump drew the naked woman's breasts. I mean, I think they implied that he drew the whole drawing, and signed his name Donald below her waist, quote, mimicking pubic hair. Perplexingly, however, the letter is a quote typewritten note styled as an imaginary conversation between Trump and Epstein, written in the third person. Indeed, defendants provide a series of quotes from the non-existent letter, claiming that the letter was written in third person. Most of the headlines have covered that, beginning with a voiceover, interluding a conversation, followed by purported dialogue between President Trump and Epstein, as if they were characters in a play. I mean, it's okay. On the one hand, defendants falsely pass off as fact that President Trump in 2003 wrote, drew, and signed this letter. Discovery is going to play this out. And on the other hand, defendants failed to attach the letter, failed to attach the alleged drawing, failed to show proof that President Trump authored or signed any such letter, and failed to explain how this purported letter was obtained. The reason for those failures is because no authentic letter or drawing exists. Defendants concocted this story to malign President Trump's character and integrity and deceptively portray him in a false light. I mean, okay, that's how you see it. We will find out in Discovery. Also, that is a weird set of specific things to say if you haven't seen it. Now, I do wonder why they didn't publish it. I have questions about that. There's a lot of theories going around online, but you know what? Discovery is going to happen. So if they've got it, we will see it. Despite the glaring failures in journalistic ethics and standards of accurate reporting, defendants Dow Jones and News Corp, at the direction of defendants Murdoch and Thompson, published to the world false, defamatory, and malignant statements authored by defendants. By other defendants, this is going to get confusing. Hundreds of millions of people have already viewed the false and defamatory statements published by defendants. Given the timing of the defendant's article, which shows their malicious intent behind it, get better proofreading, guys, please. The overwhelming financial and reputational harm suffered by President Trump will continue to multiply. Parties. Plaintiff President Donald J. Trump is a private citizen of the United States. I'm sorry, my brain just broke. Guys, I my okay. He's not a private citizen, though. Like, he's I I looked up the legal definition of private citizen, and because he is the president, and you say President Donald J. Trump is a private citizen of the United States, like, that just okay. Sorry about that. My brain broke. Maybe I don't know. I want to see what the response is from the defendants. I want to see the defendants reply cuz I'm guessing it will be worth reading, honestly. Is a private citizen of the United States, a resident of the state of Florida, and is the 45th and 47th president of the United States of America. But if you okay, I'm gonna pause for a second. That's what I meant to do. I'm gonna pause for a second because we need to have a little chat about what makes a public figure, and how defamation changes, as I understand it, between public and private. So Trump is, um, yeah, yeah, we're into law nerd territory. This is what happens when you watch lawyers on YouTube, or listen to lawyers on YouTube, during the day, like all of the time. You learn some things. So defamation, you can sue anybody for basically anything, right? But defamation of a public figure becomes much more difficult. And there's a whole lot of case law. I think, do not quote me on this. I am not an attorney, but I think the first case law for defamation regarding a public figure versus more of a private citizen, or more of a private figure, goes back to like 1773, and it might even be older than that. Like, we might be in far older territory. But anyway, I digress. But in order to reach a level of defamation and proving that in a court, when you're dealing with a public figure, and we're talking like Donald Trump circa 1987, not the president of the United States. Once you reach the president of the United States, I'm not really sure what the legal standard is for suing somebody for defamation. I think we might find out because he is in no way a private citizen. He holds the highest public office in the land. I know he forgets that a lot of the time. I understand he doesn't seem to know where he is on a good day. So maybe he just forgot that he is in fact the president, which therefore makes him a public figure, which means that the level of malice that he is going to have to prove in a court. Now, it's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It is proof to the greater weight of the evidence, i.e., how is it most often described? Like 50% plus a feather. So he's going to have to prove that. And I don't think he can. So that's my little squirrel moment from private citizen, while in the same sentence. Like, it's like listening to Hank Brennan. Okay. 2, defendant Dow Jones, Wall Street Journal is a Delaware corporation with its principal place of business in New York. Dow Jones publishes the Wall Street Journal, which is a registered trademark owned by Dow Jones. Blah blah. Defendant News Corporation. We don't need. I am not a lawyer. We don't need to read the details or the nitty gritty details because some of this is for the lawyers, and I'm not one. Um, Defendant Keith. I never knew Rupert Murdoch's first name was Keith. Oh, we learned something. Defendant Keith Rupert Murdoch is a natural person over the age of 18. Defendant, so this is just naming the defendants. Okay, defendant naming them, saying they're over 18 and we can sue them. And where their residencies are. So far, I see a lot of New York. And Trump is suing in Florida, presumably because he lives there. I'm going to be curious as to how that goes because jurisdictionally, it looks like New York would favor this as opposed to Florida, but Trump living in Florida when he's not running around the White House, I'm okay. This court has jurisdiction. I mean, it says jurisdiction and venue. This court has jurisdiction over this action pursuant to case law as the parties are diverse and the amount in controversy is greater than $75,000. I would be curious as to that case law or for an attorney to explain that case law to me because I jurisdiction is I'm curious as to how we're going to end up in Florida. It feels like judge shopping and I'm not sure how that's going to go over. But just because it feels like judge shopping to me, that's just vibes. It could actually be legit. I don't know. Court possesses personal jurisdiction over defendants Dow Jones and News Corp pursuant to Florida statute case law on the grounds that during the operative period, during the alleged complaint, they engaged in substantial and not isolated business activities in Florida, and more specifically in this district. I I'm I don't know if this is gonna go over. It would have to do with what they were doing business-wise and stuff like that. I mean, for example, okay. I learned the most about jurisdiction. I should embiggen myself while I talk about this. Um, I learned the most about jurisdiction during the Depp Heard trial because Johnny Depp was able to sue Amber Heard in Virginia, where their anti-SLAPP laws and therefore their defamation laws are very different than California. And he was able to do that because her article was published by the Washington Post, which had servers in Virginia at that time. If I've gotten some details wrong, my apologies. It was a few years ago. Please correct me. Happy to be corrected on that. But that was my understanding for how they ended up in jurisdiction there. When you're dealing with everything being in New York, except Trump doesn't want to be in New York, I am not entirely sure that that jurisdictional argument is going to hold water, but we will see. Because he does say not isolated business, publish Wall Street Journal for daily circulation throughout Florida and in this district. So who knows? I mean, if they have servers there, it's possible that they could get this to happen. Now, if they succeed in that, I want cameras in the courtroom. I'm just saying, I'm filing a motion from the internet to the Southern District of Florida. I realize if you're federal, you probably don't want cameras in the courtroom, but we would like to be able to follow this. Thanks. Um, in addition, this court possesses personal jurisdiction over defendants pursuant to case law, and more case law, and claims Florida on the grounds that all defendants committed a tortious act in this state, as alleged in this complaint. Okay, So translation, as I understand it, they're claiming this is where I'm gonna get petty, and the fact that I'm not a lawyer can help because I'm gonna say he wants to have this in Florida because he likes Florida better, and business like, he read this article in Florida or something, I don't know. Um And on the grounds, more case law on the grounds that defendants caused injury to President Trump within this state arising of an act or omission by defendants outside of this state while at or about the time of injury, products or materials or things processed, serviced, or manufactured by defendants were used or consumed within the state. Yeah, he read the article in Florida. So he wants to sue in Florida. I'm going to be fascinated to see how this shakes out jurisdictionally, as well as if it even gets to court. I think it might, mostly because I think Murdoch wants discovery because he'll sell more papers with it. There's a whole lot that goes into that, and certain things wouldn't be allowed, but I'm just saying. So, what are they now claiming? Okay. The statement of facts, or more more specific allegations and shade, as EDB always says. On July 15th, 2025, Palazzo sent an email to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt advising of Dow Jones' intent to publish an article which discussed a purported letter for the 50th birthday. The same afternoon, counsel for President Trump sent an email to defendants advising that the intended article was false, claiming that President Trump authored the purported letter, which he did not, and further warned Dow Jones to cease and desist from publishing, disseminating, or otherwise distributing such information because it was false and defamatory. So we're going with the trust me bro defense. None of the defendants responded to email. Would you if you had eyes on that letter? I wouldn't. Maybe I would, probably not. But if you had eyes on that letter, I don't think anybody's responding, especially when the response is trust me, bro. Um, Instead, they published the letter and we get into what the letter says. We get into what the article says. I think at this point we've all seen that. I don't want to read through that very weird script again. Ugh. If cringe, uh, this is just the definition of cringe here. It's just, okay. Despite these unsubstantiated claims, article does not attach the purported letter. Right. Okay. And tellingly, the article does not explain whether the defendants have obtained a copy of the letter, have seen it. Right. We can assume they didn't back down immediately, so I'm going to assume that and also we've had a lot of witnesses mention this little creeptastic birthday book. So, I'm going to assume I'm going to assume that the Wall Street Journal is not like skipping into court the way they seem to be skipping into court if they don't have the evidence to back this all up. But especially when the allegations are basically, we told them not to, and they did it anyway. And we go into a lot of other things. I am not reading this all the way through because time, and also we can confirm. Why did I want to pull this up? Well, I wanted to pull this up and look at the actual document because I have learned that we can't always trust the headlines. So I wanted to see it. If I remember to post where I found it, I will drop that in the comments or in the description of the video later because I totally forgot to add that this time. Um, but I wanted to see the actual document. I wanted to see what the actual allegations were because, well, I don't always trust what the news has for headlines. Um, and dad says, I assume the lawyers for the WSJ have proof positive as to the authenticity of the item in question, or they would have backed down. Yeah, yeah, lawyers will stop them. Trust me, there was at least one lawyer somewhere that they ran that by. Because here's the other thing. We all know Trump is gonna sue, especially in areas like this where there's no spin he can put on it to make it good. Like, it doesn't really matter what else is said. The connection alone, being friends and not having a good excuse for why you're friends other than your shared interests, which is a crime. Your shared interest is a crime. Um I don't think they're going to publish it if they haven't verified it. Now, the Wall Street Journal having being less afraid of this administration than many other of the mainstream media. I did not have that one on my bingo card. I know dad disagrees with me on that one. But I didn't have it on my bingo card. I did not see Wall Street Journal in 2025 swooping in to save the day. But who knows? Maybe this lawsuit is either way, we're going to get discovery. And a certain amount of that discovery is going to be public record. And then we're going to find it. And I think that might be why the president, who doesn't know where he is half the time, is having such an epic meltdown over this. But he did forget that by doing this, he has opened himself up for discovery. So I'm sure everybody is waiting with bated breath as to what is going to be found, because that's going to be fun. Fun is the wrong term, but um, let's see. It is so this talks about the letter. Was reviewed by the journal is bawdy, like others in the album. I eh, creeptastic birthday. I'm not gonna read that because it just ugh, and I'm not gonna read the voiceover bit and the little script, and I am gonna read enigmas never age. Have you noticed that, Jeffrey? As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. I okay. That is such a weird script. I do not believe that it was made up. If it was made up, if if by some fluke, right? Trump was actually telling the truth for once. Um I can't believe that because the script is so weird. It falls under the you just can't somebody trying to make it creepy or weird would do a better job than this. This is just happy birthday and may every day be another wonderful secret. Ew. It ew. Ew. Maybe it's just me, but that I've literally never written a birthday card to anyone that has anything that looks like that in it. It's ugh, ugh. So yeah, I don't think you have much of a leg to stand on. Okay. The article also, I'm going to continue now with this. The article also contains the following statements that are implicitly defamatory. Jeffrey Epstein's friends sent him body letters for a 50th birthday album. One was from Donald Trump. My dude, the internet has just played a creep version. Well, I'm quoting Phil DeFranco, but there's no better way to say this. But it's like the creep version of Where's Waldo, of you and Epstein, and all the times that Epstein was hanging out at your house and with you. And you had a party where the only other guest was Epstein. That's not a party. It's just that's not a party, and it wasn't a party for the other human beings that were there that apparently weren't guests. I'm not sure what that means. And I don't want to, and YouTube probably doesn't want me to go down that rabbit hole either. Um, ugh, the album had poems. This is more quoting the article. About what was in this birthday thing. When he turned 50, Epstein was already wealthy for managing Wexner's fortune. I'm on D, and was socializing with Trump, Clinton, and other powerful people. He often entertained at his Manhattan townhouse, Palm Beach, Florida, a home and the private island. Okay, so Trump dude, you're super mad, and they also dropped another big name down there. I want to find out what else we know. Despite clear journalistic failures of due diligence and accuracy of the article, Dow Jones, at the direction of its director and majority owner and News Corp, published the article to hundreds of millions of people. And then they say after it published, the article goes viral. Okay. Within hours of the publication. It oh, this line though. The article was also widely republished and discussed on the internet's watering hole. Okay. It was trending on Twitter. That is the most legal version I have ever seen of it was trending on Twitter, which doesn't mean a whole lot. They amplified engagement. Some of this they're putting in things like amplified engagement and stuff like that. Some of this they are putting in because they have to to prove defamation, because he is a public figure and not currently a private citizen. So, to further exacerbate this already caustic situation, the Wall Street Journal also placed the article on the front page of its July 18th newspaper. Oh my God, they put it in print too. The Lincoln Project gets called out. Colin Rugg, a journalist with over 1 million followers on X.com, republished several of the false and defamatory statements, as well as powerful denials by President Trump. That doesn't help your argument. Okay. Saying that they also published Trump denying it doesn't help the argument. And no, I'm not going to click on any of these. Keith Olbermann, they put in all the screenshots. Seth Abramson, and defendants. So this is all just setting it up for lots and lots and lots of people. Therefore, reputation is damaged. I mean, I think his reputation is damaged for other reasons. This isn't helping, but there's a lot going on. So this is just part of it. Indeed, defendants are actively promoting the article. Well, that also, I mean, I know that this is allegations. So what they're trying to put out there is that the Wall Street Journal is trying to push this forward and all of that. And the more they push it forward, the more malice they get. They're aiming to get to that malice level, I learned so much from the Depp Heard trial. Let me tell you about defamation and what makes defamation. Um, so I can understand that they're going through this, not limited to, and they're going to call everybody out and they're going to put all that in there because, of course, every time somebody says it, we can go through that as a result. All right. Defamation whoa, per se. Okay. No, sorry, my brain flipped. Pro se and per se. I apologize. I had a moment. Um, I had a moment. So we're going to go through that. Plaintiff repeats and realleges the allegations. Unprivileged statements set forth in the article, including but not limited to those specified in paragraph 24. All statements are made. An overwhelming number of people all over the world read the false and or read the false and defamatory statements contained in the article. Statements were not privileged. Statements were published by defendants with actual malice, oppression, and fraud in that they were aware at the time of the falsity of the publication and thus made publications in bad faith out of disdain and ill will directed at plaintiff without any regard for the truth. They are going to have to prove that, and trust me, bro, isn't proof. They're claiming no factual basis. What do I want? I am looking for what they want out of all this because this is just stuff for the lawyers. And if I were a lawyer, we could go through more of it. And they want a jury trial. So I have now read this. There we are. This is what they want. Wherefore, plaintiff President Donald Trump demands judgment against the defendants for damages, punitive damages, court costs, and other such relief as the court deems just and proper, not to be less than $10 billion. Okay. Hmm. Sure. Get this in front of a jury. Let's see what the evidence is. So hereby plaintiff requests a jury trial as to all issues. Well, that, my friends, is the lawsuit. If any of you happen to catch when the reply comes in, I will try and find it. But if any of you lovelies happen to get your little paws on the reply from the Wall Street Journal, Murdoch, those guys, before I can find it, because again, not a lawyer, so I have to wait for it to be like public, and then I have to go hunting down various sites, because once I figure out where it is in Florida and if Florida puts stuff up, to be able to look at it, hopefully Florida is a little easier than Massachusetts. Massachusetts is not easy to get the documents at all, especially if you're just, a human and a member of the public. But I want to see the reply because that's going to be super interesting too. And we are going to track that. We're going to follow this through. Assuming you guys want, I'm certainly going to be following this. So guess what? You're coming along for the ride. Because I want to see how this plays out. I want to see this how. Ooh, can't speak. Okay. That is that I am going to swoop and then I'm going to look at my notes and make sure that I haven't missed anything. And then we've been here for an hour and I should probably let you go. So first I'm going to swoop, then we're going to take stock of where we're at, and then I'm probably going to say goodnight. Okay. So Oh, timestamps are up on last week's video already. I am getting slightly better at doing that, but please don't hold me to a week. Um, let's see. Hey, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. I think I even said most of the stuff I wanted to say. Look at me being all prepared. Um, don't get used to it. Don't get used to it. I usually pretty much just human chaos over here for show nights. But thank you for hanging with me again this Sunday as always. Oh, yet another show where I made it to the end of the show and I have not said, please if you like this, you want to hang with me, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. That's all free. Hit the notification bell on YouTube. Although that helps, it is not fully reliable. So if you want something that is more reliable, you can pop on over to my website, and on that front page there's a little subscription form, and you can choose if you want to be subscribed via email or if you want to be on the text crew. I am still working on building the text crew, but you can sign up there and I will do my level best to be able to make sure that you are on there. And of the earliest folks who, the members of the community who have been here with me from the very beginning, and are joining us as we are starting to grow a little bit here now. um, there's gonna be some special stuff coming your way because you guys are amazing and I appreciate all of you. And it's just, I love that we get to hang out every week and do this. So if you wanna be the first to know and know when I'm making shows go away or behind a paywall and things like that, absolutely, um, sign up for those things. I'm doing a lot to make my little one-woman show, not feel like that for you. And, yeah, so exciting things coming down the way. And if you're here, do all the likey things, do all the stuff that the algorithm loves. Please, please. And if you like this and you have friends that you want to have them join our happy little community over here, our snarky community over here, go ahead and give it a share too. That it always helps the algorithm, it helps the channel, and all of that. So I appreciate all of you. This has been so much fun. As always, if you have a news story or, I mean, I know we're standing in front of a fire hose of insanity and news these days, but you know the drill. Drop it in the comments, send it to me in a DM, or send it to my email that is available on the website and all of that. And we will take a look because we're here together and we're doing this all together. So I want to deal with the things that you want to look at. And then for the other stuff, it's going to be the stuff that I'm looking at and interested in, like this Trump lawsuit. So, I think that is everything. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me. I know we went a bit overtime tonight, but we had the documents, which just makes me so happy when I can get those. So, as always, with all of that, guys, oh, you know what we didn't do? We have to do this because Trump has had a week. Trump has had a week, and I feel like we need to give him this tiny violin for the problems that come with being a very public figure. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, You guys are amazing. Be well. Do good. And as always, bark a lot. I will see you. Ah! My coaster's stuck to my drink. Let me try that again. Let me try that again. Be well. Do good. Bark a lot. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you have a story you want our unfiltered take on, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will see you next time.